know best. Now I'm going to ask you a question. Do you believe the government should be raising your children? Because myself, as a parent of 4, when I send my kids into the public school, because I do have 3 children that are still public school children, and the moment that I send them into the classroom, that doesn't mean I hand over my rights as a parent. So today we have 4 key topics we're going to be talking about this week, and these are the highlights of what's going on in education. Now, in order for us to make a difference, we have to know what's going on. And I'm going to tell you, we're not going to be learning this from the mainstream media. We're going to be learning this from each other. And that's why these episodes are so powerful, is so that we can learn from other parents. So today I have 4 parents with me. I'm going to say 4 soon to be, because Adam Rizzieri is a parent from Houston. He's actually expecting his first child coming up in October. But what's so exciting about Adam is going to be leading our Dads and Dudes initiative, because I tell you, we have mama bears in the movement, but it's time that we give a place for our dads, because we need our dads to step up and partner with us moms. We have Angelique Contreras from Florida, who is our state coordinator. And then we have Amy Carney, who is headquartered out in Scottsdale, Arizona, who is our deputy director here at B.E.S.T. So what we're going to do is we are just going to launch this off. We are going to cover 4 topics, 5 minutes each. So pay attention. These are very important topics happening this week in education, and I'm going to kick it off over to Adam, because Adam wants to talk to us about a situation that's occurring there in Houston, Texas. But I'm going to tell you, it's not only happening in Houston, it's happening around the country. So Adam, welcome.
Hey guys, thank you so much. So I'm coming to you from North Texas, but as a kid I spent a lot of time in Houston because that's where my grandparents lived for quite some time. And so I keep my eye on Houston. And one thing that kind of stuck out to me in the news was, frankly, it was testimony from a father who was testifying just several days ago in front of the Houston Independent School District School Board about this crazy grooming episode that took place back in 2019. It's something that the school district has been very, very hush about. And when I tell you, you'll kind of understand why. In a nutshell, this Houston father was publicly testifying that a chemistry teacher recruited his then 16-year-old underage son for an adult entertainment show, basically featuring a convicted pedophile performing as a drag queen. Video was really widely played on Twitter, showing that this teen was literally next to this drag queen, who, by the way, happens to be a registered sex offender named Albert Alfonso Garza. Now, Mr. Garza was convicted of aggravated sexual assault for oral sex on an 8-year-old boy. And this person happened to be performing as a drag queen, who, by the way, years ago also happened to perform at the Houston Public Library at this kids event called the Drag Queen Story Hour. Now, when you think about what's going on in our country, when you see headlines where your children are being exposed to this kind of situation, an underage minor being recruited by his teacher and then brought to a drag show performance, parents have to be very concerned about that. This is happening without parental consent, and oftentimes this is happening without parental knowledge. I think this is a very important story because this just happens to be one story of many others. It's an anecdote that explains and kind of draws attention to the fact that this is something taking place around our country. Here in Dallas, where I am, there was a case recently of a 9-year-old Dallas area boy named James Younger. And basically this kid, his mom was indoctrinated to the point where the mother was telling him that he was a girl and wanted to force him against his father's wishes into taking sterilizing cross-sex hormone drugs, leading eventually to castration. So when you kind of take place at the indoctrination that's going on, it's not just the teachers. There are some parents that have literally lost their minds. And this is a national trend here where this LGBTQIA plus, et cetera, agenda is affecting kids both inside and outside the classroom. And it's because it's all about something bigger. The events like the Drag Your Kids to Pride event in Dallas, this Michigan middle school that's literally hiding a student's gender transition from his parents. These are really controversial things that are taking place. And a lot of it actually is taking place within the actual sex ed curriculum itself. You have educational curriculum that involves these coming out and pro down days for middle schoolers, discussing topics like trans and non-binary issues with kids as young as 5. I mean, what are we talking about here? We're talking about kids here. And so when you see Twitter accounts like Libs of TikTok saying, why are you so desperate to talk to kids about sex and confuse them about their own gender? It's creepy. I mean, exactly. It's creepy. And frankly,
creepy.
as parents, we have to stand up and do something about it.
Absolutely. I think one of the main things with us here at B.E.S.T, we parents should be knowing what our kids are being taught at school. And if they knew that a child was going to be taken over to these shows, because I know this happened in Florida, that the parents were unaware that their kids were being sent to or going for a field trip to some of these drag queen shows. Parents did not consent to this, and that's really what this is about. A lot of this is about our parental rights in education. Is this what we're really sending our kids to school? Angelique, what's your thoughts?
Well, I think it's crazy because I think even more, we're seeing this on a corporate level. We're seeing this even with the Girl Scouts. They were incentivizing Girl Scouts to get a badge, and to get that badge, you had to go to a drag show. You had to learn about these ideologies. It was really sad to see, this corporation really want to indoctrinate young girls to get a badge with a rainbow on it and go to these drag shows and, learn about, the LGBTQIA plus community.
Absolutely.
So inappropriate.
Amy?
So I think parents have the right to raise their children according to their values, right? So we have to question why society today feels like taking young children to a drag show is appropriate, but we need to get back to protecting and preserving the innocence of childhood, right? But parents do have the right to raise their children according to their values. Unfortunately, some feel that taking their kids to a drag show is appropriate for their family. But what I don't think we can have is schools promoting these drag shows at all. I know here in Arizona, I've been watching our drag show, the Drag Queen Story Hour that's been happening in our public libraries for years. And we do have a parent group, a parent council locally that promotes those. And so that is worth exposing, I think, and showing these local organizations who are promoting this to our families and to our kids. But parents do have the right to raise their children according to their values. Schools just do not have the right to promote these things.
Absolutely. So, Amy, that leads me into, one of the topics you wanted to highlight this week is the Biden administration is now looking at aiming to elevate the role of parents in schools after a whole year of putting sicking Merrick Garland on us as domestic terrorists. But now he's going to launch this new effort. So why don't you tell us what that is?
Yeah. Did you guys hear about this new coalition, this council that the Department of Education came out with on June 14th? So it's called the National Parents and Families Engagement Council, right? And like you said, does the Biden administration, do they really care now all of a sudden, about parents being involved in their education? Absolutely not. This is just more political theater, right? And if you dig in, Secretary of Education Cardona says parents are a child's first teachers, and there are no one better equipped to work with schools and educators to identify what students need to recover. The National Parents and Families Engagement Council will serve as an important link between families and caregivers, education advocates, and their school communities. How nice, right? I mean, we've always known that our parents are the number one factor in a child's academic success, right? This is known. This is why we are involved and why we care. We do not need this political theater by the Biden administration that has named, I think, 14 basically leftist organizations to be their representatives. I was digging into some yesterday. The NAFSCE is one of them, the National Association for Family, School, and Community Engagement. And you can see right on their website that their parent organization is the Mid-Atlantic Equity Consortium, whose mission is to promote excellence and equity in education to achieve social justice. And they are one of the organizations that openly partners with the teachers union as well. It's right there on their website. So, I mean, we can't fall fall for these? I don't know. What have you guys heard? What do you think about this new council? Are they here to help us?
Well, Amy, I'm glad that you're bringing this up because it's one of those things that it is a wolf in sheep's clothing. It looks good on the surface, but like you said, as we look, I mean, good grief. Haven't they realized yet that we're going to do our research and we're just not going to let this slide by? Angelique, as a parent in Florida, what's your thoughts?
Well, you guys said it perfectly. Like, they think that we're not going to critically think and research and look into the corporations that they're working against. This isn't parent led like B.E.S.T is. This is something that they want to control. They want to manipulate. And really, they're really great linguistics, aren't they? Like, we're going to go in and we're going to make this sound so good. Guess what? We're not falling for it. We know that they've called us domestic terrorists just for advocating and getting involved in our children's education. And now all of a sudden they want to partner with us. I'm not falling for it.
She's so right.
Yeah. Hey, I have an idea, Angelique. Why doesn't the Biden administration ask Merrick Garland to stop investigating us as domestic terrorists? There's your first step. What's your thoughts,
Absolutely.
Adam?
Absolutely.
Well, I was just going to say, first of all, Miguel Cardona. Like, need I say anything more, right? Like, this council consists of 14 hand-picked organizations that, as Amy said, are extremely politically biased. These were 14 organizations that were chosen for a reason. And, today, kind of like what Angelique was saying, the way they use words is just kind of goofy. I mean, today the word anti-racist literally means racist. And diversity, equity, inclusion is literally the new cultural revolution. That thing that Mao Zedong waged on China before it became a terrible communist society. This is all part of a greater socio-political movement that's designed to separate kids from parents and then systematically indoctrinate them into the same Marxist ideologies that have destroyed millions of lives.
Absolutely. Any final thoughts, Amy?
Well, when the PTA is highly promoting this, we know to run for bills. I mean, I just say we give no more time or energy even to this council and we move on. And we know B.E.S.T is who's actually out there representing us.
Absolutely. Angelique.
Parents know best.
Yes, parents do know best, but I'm going to tell you, one governor that is getting it right is Governor Ron DeSantis in Florida. He has recognized that these poor decisions that are being made on the local level, and that's why it's important this election. We pay attention to who's being elected to the school boards in our area. We have to do our research. Angelique, you have a great headline here. Why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, well, I'm super excited. Look, Laura, in the state of Florida, we are just 30 days away from vote by mail ballots going out and just 60 days away from day of election. And Governor DeSantis is stepping up and pushing out candidates that are going to promote his student first, protecting parents' rights, education agenda. So some of those things on the survey are asking candidates, are you for or against opening and rejecting, lockdowns in our schools? Are you for or against indoctrination or education of our children? He wants to ensure parental rights in education and keep woke gender ideology out of our schools. He wants to support robust civics education. I think we need to get back to those conversations within our schools. Even more, what's tied to my, heartstrings is my family losing everything to communism. The fact that our governor is making it a priority that our children in the state of Florida learn about communism. This is a part of his education agenda. He wants to make sure that we protect the rights of parents to petition their school boards and districts for redress of grievances. We just spoke about it. Look, for years, our school boards and even, the federal government has called us domestic terrorists. He wants to make sure that parents do have that right to go in and not like they have in Arizona, create dossiers and go after, parents and take pictures of their children. He wants to increase teacher pay. He wants to guarantee the rights of parents to curriculum transparency. These are all things that he's sending out in a survey. He just endorsed, as of yesterday, 10 candidates in the state of Florida. And I know that he's going to keep moving forward and, endorse more candidates that are going to push his education agenda in the state of Florida. So I'm super excited, and I'm hopeful that I will be one of those candidates that he endorses.
Absolutely. Angelique is, I actually met Angelique because she was one of our candidates that went through our training. We have a 6-week candidate academy for our school board candidates, and I met Angelique in West Palm Beach. She came up and introduced herself, and I fell in love with her then. But that's one thing. If you are a parent and you're looking at how do I get involved, run for school board. We got to change these school boards over one seat at a time. Angelique's running for school board in Florida. Amy's running for school board in Arizona. Maybe we can get Adam to run for school board in Texas. And let's step up to the plate and let's change this over to so that parents have a say on the school board versus these teachers unions, these retired administrators. Adam, what's your thoughts?
Well, I think there's a lot of very wise common sense parents out there that want some very wise common sense policies running through their schools. And unlike the 11 MSNBC viewers, including the crazy mother of James Younger, that poor 9-year-old that's about to be castrated, parents rightfully want basic things, right? Like parental rights, basic things like transparency in their curriculum, and basic things like crazy, right? The success of their child. And frankly, the more involved a parent, the more successful that child is positioned to be. And so that's great to see endorsements from leaders like Governor DeSantis, people that have fearlessly led us towards the light of common sense, because believe it or not, more people than not want the best for our society and for our children. And Angelique, you've got my vote. I know you're one of those great common sense parents who will do great things in the school board. And God willing, we have some people listening today that want to do the same thing.
Absolutely. Amy?
Well, once again, Governor DeSantis is leading the way, right, in this and showing us how important it is for those at the top of the ballot to be partnering with those at the bottom of the ballot, because we all need to be working together for parents' rights and, for our kids. And I love that, he's finding school board candidates to endorse that are pro-student, pro-parent agenda, right? And I think that we should be looking at that across the country, and hopefully more candidates that are running for governor and bigger positions will see what he's done and then be brave enough to do that in their own state. And since I'm running here in Arizona, let's go Arizona, Governor.
Go Arizona. Yeah.
And I gotta say, Laura, one question, a part of that survey that I loved is he said that we need to fund the students in the state of Florida. Do you agree that students should be funded instead of system? And I said, I wonder where he got that from.
Absolutely. Okay, well, one thing I wanted to highlight is that from June 20th to the 26th, it is National Women's Sports Week. It's the time of year that we celebrate female athletes. And I think it's so important to bring this up because we know that through this new administration, they've really hijacked Title IX. And so what they're doing with Title IX is they are trying to infiltrate, and you've seen this, and we've seen it across the country, where now that our girls are having to compete against biologically born males, and obviously, and I'm going to say, as a parent, I have 2 seniors. I have a daughter that's a senior, and I have a son that's a senior. And when I look at, yes, they're close in age, but my son is so much stronger. And I look at, this isn't fair and it's not right, but the way that they've taken Title IX and hijacked it, where males can now compete in female sports, and extending that to where males are allowed in girls' bathrooms. I have 2 daughters and I have 2 granddaughters. This is not safe. And we've seen that in Virginia where the young girl was actually where she was assaulted and raped And then we're also seeing coming out where new guidelines is allowing these males to go into locker rooms. Now you think about bathrooms, at least there's those closed doors, right? But we're talking about going into locker rooms where girls are actually changing. And so I really think that we all need to celebrate our girls because our girls have come too far to be erased. And I stand with our Independent Women's Forum, who actually sent out this email and reminding us all that next week's National Women's Sports Week, and it's time for us to celebrate and stand with our girls. So what's your thoughts on that, Adam? As a future dad here, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, you know what? It shows us that when we stand up for what's right, good things can happen. And I say that after a year where we've seen USA Today name a man who fathered 2 children as the Woman of the Year, in a year where we saw the best women's collegiate swimmer be a man. It doesn't leave a whole lot of room in the world of sports, in the world of competition, for biological women to compete fairly. And so to now see organizations like FINA, the worldwide kind of regulator of swimming, now say that trans women have to compete in a separate category, I think it makes things what they should be. You should not have a biological man competing against a biological woman in sports. It's just not fair. There are literally like scientific differences in the consistency of those individuals from one to the next. So yeah, it's great to see a little bit of common sense taking place in our world today. And look at that, doing the right thing and standing up for what's right. It does pay off.
Yes. Amy?
Well, I think it's unbelievable, right? That we're sitting here having to talk about men, playing on women's sports and drag queens and all these crazy things that we're dealing with. But I was an athlete, and my daughter was an athlete through high school. And I tell you what, I mean, that would have, both of us, neither of us would have played, I don't think, if they were allowing men to be on there. I had a hard enough time playing against the competitive, more masculine women, on my softball team. I would have never even bothered. And that's what's going to happen, is our girls are just going to say, forget it. We're not going to do this. And it's so sad. Like you said, we worked too hard to come this far. And so I'm sorry that this is even a conversation. I mean, we just need to call it out for what it is. It's stupid. You're a man. I'm sorry. It's not a free for all. You can't get everything. You can't do everything you want. So
you can't have the women's varsity team literally be all dudes.
Right.
It doesn't work.
I mean, yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's mind boggling to me.
Angelique, you have 2 daughters, correct?
I do.
Thoughts on this?
Yeah, well, and I was raised in a very athletic family. I played volleyball, I played softball, and my brothers were football players. And I knew that they were stronger than me. I was, the youngest of 2 older brothers. And, I think for girls that work so hard to get into athletics and for opportunities and for championships to be robbed from them by biological males is not fair at all. And we should stand up for those girls that work hard, put in, the time and the effort and the energy to become champions, to become the best in what they do. And also school, we have to keep our girls safe. I'm sorry. The things that we saw in California with a man identifying as a woman and going into the girls' locker room, we need to make sure that those things don't trickle down into our schools, into, anything that will put our young girls and women at risk.
Well, this has been a great conversation. I know we hit 4 really heavy topics in 5 minutes each, but I think it's important for our parents to stay on top of what's going on, because like I said, you're not going to hear this in the mainstream media. You're not going to see a lot of it on social media, but if you continue to connect with us at ParentsKnowBest.com, we will continue to feed you with the truth, and we will continue to feed you with information that parents are uncovering in their own neck of the woods. But in the meantime, I encourage you, because we have a new YouTube channel and we're starting to post all our trainings on there. And we have several trainings that we have already launched and put up there. But you can subscribe at FreedomWorks B.E.S.T YouTube, and you'll have access to all this. But anyways, stay tuned till next week. I can't wait to have our discussion next week, but who knows what we're going to be talking about next week, because in education, every day something new is coming out, and I'm not surprised anymore. But anyways, thank you for joining us at ParentsKnowBest.com, and we look forward to seeing you next week.